Welcome to episode 156 of EDH Commander Challenge. I'm your host, BT, and man, do I have some mega announcements. First off to the patrons, aka the EDHCC Club, starting this Tuesday, November 17, 2020, which is my next day off from work, I'll begin reaching out to you for your deck ideas and what we'll plan for the upcoming patron-exclusive tournament. So get your deck ideas ready. Also, you can reach out to me via DM or post on Patreon or Twitter for the what time of day or night you're free this week so I can get in contact with you. And then we can hook up via, say, Facebook Live, Skype, or Spell Table and work out the details. Next, today's episode is dedicated to our newest patron and a longtime friend of mine. He is the Big J-Man, Joshua Austin Rivers. My friend, my birthday is actually next month, but I appreciate your support and kindness, and this is a lovely early birthday gift. You know what that means? That means now we've reached our 10th patron overall, which means in December, we'll begin work for our pilot episode of our new vintage series. I have some ideas for what the name of the show could be, but I should defer to you guys, my family members. So send me your ideas. Let me know in the comments below what you think the name of the show should or could be. But for now, let's get into it and check out those opening hands. First, in this corner, with an opening hand of 3 mountains, Wheel of Fate, Tyrant of Discord, By Force, Soul of New Phyrexia, and his mono-red general Purphoros Bronze-Blooded. He is yours truly, the host, BT. Next, in this corner, with an opening hand of a forest, 2 islands, Vorinclex Voice of Hunger, Brainstorm, Spellbook, Hedron Archive, and her Simic-style general Tishana, Voice of Thunder. She is the prodigy. This is Emma. I want the dice roll to start us off, so let's begin this latest card fight. For our first turns, I play a mountain, while Emma plays an island and casts Spellbook. I play a basic and suspend Wheel of Fate with 4 counters on it, and pass. During the end step, Emma casts Brainstorm, drawing 3 cards from her deck and placing 2 cards from her hand back on top. Emma plays an island and passes. During my upkeep, I remove a counter from the wheel. I play a basic and pass. Emma plays a forest and casts Jace Beleren. She uses its -1 effect to draw a card and passes. During my upkeep, I remove another counter from my wheel. Then I play a basic and cast my sad robot, Solemn Simulacrum. With its ETB, I get a basic from my deck into play tapped and pass. Emma plays Yavimaya Coast. She then uses Jace's +2 to have both of us draw a card. Then she casts Reclamation Sage. With its ETB, she destroys my robot, and with its death trigger, I draw a card, and Emma passes. During my upkeep, another counter is removed from the wheel. I play a basic and cast my general, Purphoros Bronze-Blooded, and pass. Emma starts her turn by using Jace's -1 effect to draw a card. Then she plays a tapped Vivid Creek and casts Hedron Archive. Then she moves into combat and attacks me with her Sage for 2 damage, before passing. During my upkeep, the last counter is removed and the Wheel of Fate is cast. Before it resolves, I decide to use my General's ability twice to sneak in 2 creatures from my hand into play, which in this case are Tyrant of Discord and Soul of New Phyrexia. We then discard our hands to the wheel and draw 7 fresh new cards. We remember that we still need to resolve my Tyrant's ETB, and after rolling a dice, Emma only ends up sacking a forest. Then I move into combat and attack Emma with my Tyrant for 7 damage, and my Soul of New Phyrexia takes out Jace. Then I pass, and both of my new creatures get sacrificed. Emma replaces her forest and casts Eternal Witness, taking 1 damage from her Yavimaya Coast. With its ETB, she adds Consecrated Sphinx that got discarded back to her hand. She then moves into combat and pokes me for 2 with her Sage, and passes. I play Terrain Generator and use my General's effect to sneak Combustible Gearhulk from my hand into play. With its ETB, Emma fears taking large sums of damage with the high CMC she's seen so far, and chooses to allow me to draw 3 cards in the hopes of countering whatever it is I play. Next, I use Purphoros to sneak in yet another creature from my hand. This time, it's Hellkite Charger. And now with my devotion to red being 5, Purphoros becomes a creature. Thus I move into combat and wave Emma with everything I have. Emma blocks my General with her Witness and takes 11 damage. Ouch. Then I pass, and I sack my 2 new creatures, and discard a land to go down to 7 cards in my hand. Emma plays an Etchy Island, and casts Shaman of Forgotten Ways. Then she removes a counter from her creek for a green, to help cast Hadana's Climb. She then moves into combat, and uses the climb to place a +1/+1 counter on her Sage, and smacks me for 3 damage with it, before passing. For my turn, I cast Commander Sphere, followed by Tormenting Voice, discarding Anger from my hand to draw 2 cards. Then I play Maze of Ith, and pass. Emma plays an island and casts Wood Elves. With its ETB, she grabs a forest from her deck into play. Then she casts the dreaded Consecrated Sphinx, and her favorite artifact in MTG thus far, Blackblade Reforged. Then she moves into combat and attacks me with a Sage. She uses her climb to give it another +1/+1 counter. But I use my maze to stop the hit and untap the creature, fogging the damage before she passes. During her end step, I use my generator to place a basic from my hand into play tapped. I play a basic and cast Memory Jar. I sack it right away, and we set aside our hands and draw 7 new cards. Well, in Emma's case, she draws double that thanks to her Sphinx. Next, I cast Mana Geyser, granting me 7 mana equal to Emma's 7 tapped lands. I use 4 of it to cast a Ready Scrap Savant. I use its -2 effect to sack my sphere to replace it with my combustible Gearhulk in my graveyard. With its ETB, Emma lets me draw 3 cards as I'm down to 3 mana and will have to discard the new cards I got shortly. I use my remaining 3 mana to sneak in another creature from my hand into play, which in this case is Avalanche Riders. With its ETB, I destroy Emma's Yavimaya Coast. Then I move into combat and attack Emma with everything. Emma uses her 4/3 Sage to block my riders, while having her Wood Elves block my general, and thus she takes only 6 damage. My riders and Emma's elves bite the dust, and then I pass, and we discard our new hands and replace them with the old ones via the effect of the Memory Jar. Emma plays a forest and casts Vidalcan Shackles, followed by her general, Tishana, Voice of Thunder. With its ETB, she gets to draw 4 new cards as she controls 4 creatures. Then she moves into combat and uses her climb to give her Sage another +1/+1 counter. As it has 3 now, the climb transforms into the land now known as Winged Temple of Araska. She attacks Duretti with the Sage, but forgets about my maze, which I use to untap the creature and prevent the damage. During her second main phase, she equips her Black Blade to Tishana, who becomes a 14/14 before she passes. As I draw for my turn, Emma chooses to draw 2 cards via her Sphinx. I then use Duretti's +2 to discard 2 cards and draw 2 cards, to which Emma thanks me and draws 4 more cards, which makes her general more terrifying. Then I cast Brass Bounty, which grants me 10 treasure tokens equal to how many lands I control. Then I pay 3 to use my general's ability to sneak in Blightsteel Colossus from my hand into play. I use 3 treasures to sneak Balefire Dragon from my hand into play as well. Then I move into combat and I attack Emma with everything. To avoid lethal infect damage, Emma throws her powered up Sage in front of the Colossus. She also has her Sphinx block the Balefire and has Tishana stop Purphoros in his tracks. With that, Emma takes 7 infect and 6 regular damage. Then her Sphinx and Sage are destroyed. In my second main phase, I use my remaining treasures to cast Staff of Nin and pass. During the end step, my Dragon and Colossus gets sacked, with the Colossus' effect returning the card into my deck. Emma plays an island and casts Enray's Forerunners. With its trigger, all of her other creatures get +2/+2, Vigilance, and Trample this turn. She then moves into combat and attacks me with both the runners and her OP Tishana, who is pretty much a 20/20 at this point. I use my maze to at least stop Tishana and take 7 damage. In her second main phase, Emma casts Pongify to replace my Gearhulk with an Ape token before passing. And during her end step, I use my staff to poke her for 1 damage. During my upkeep, I draw an extra card via my staff. Then I tap it again to poke Emma once more for a damage. Then I use Duretti's -2 and trade in my staff for my memory jar. I then sack it right away, and we once again set aside our hands and draw 7 new cards. Next, I use my General's ability to sneak Inferno Titan from my hand into play. With its ETB, I deal 3 damage to Emma's Shaman. Next, I cast Chaos Warp, targeting Tishana, who Emma returns to the command zone. After shuffling her deck, her top card is revealed to be Beast Within, so it remains in the top of her deck. Finally, I use my General's ability once more to sneak Duplicant from my hand into play. And with its ETB, I exile her Forerunners. I try to move into combat, but Emma knows that even if she takes control of the ape with her shackles to block one of my creatures, the combined Inferno Titan's attack effect, along with the combat damage she would receive, will be enough to finish her off, and she surrenders the game to me. I won here, but it's a bit of a hollow victory due to some misplays that Emma and I did in the last turn. I'll explain. If I had used the ETB damage of my Inferno Titan on Emma herself instead of the Shaman, then there's no question in my mind that if I played out the turn the rest of the way I did, then there was no way that Emma could have come back no matter what she did. But because of that error, where I used the 3 damage to destroy her Shaman instead, check this out. After checking with an MTG judge, I found out that when I brought Duplicant into play and targeted her Forerunners, she could have used her shackles to gain control of it before the exile happened. Then she could have used the creature to block my Titan, which with its attack trigger would have left her with at least a little bit of life left. It wouldn't have guaranteed her the win, but she may have had at least a little bit more time to turn the game around. Speaking of which, Emma's Consecrated Sphinx drew her a ton of cards, but the scariest creature she had in play was almost always Shaman of Forgotten Ways. Check the video again if you don't believe me. There were at least 2 occasions where she was so close to using its biorhythm effect to turn our life totals into really sparse amounts, and then ending the game in a single combat phase later. For me, while Duretti did a lot of work, the shining star here was Memory Jar. The problem with sneak decks is always the ammo, aka the number of cards in your hand. And being able to get this card's effect twice this game saved me big time. I highly recommend this card in any sneak attack style deck to make sure that you can keep your hand very, very plentiful. If you agree with our picks, let us know in the comments down below. Also, if you enjoy our content, consider becoming a patron. Give you access to some sweet and exclusive bonuses, including things like our patron exclusive tournaments, your very own nickname as part of the EDHCC club, bonus entries in our giveaways, and so much more. Oh, and in celebration of reaching 10 patrons, next week Emma and I will be doing something special for you all. So please continue to support us on our road to 2,000 subscribers and family members. Stay safe, everyone, and keep on card gaming. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If you're a fan of EDH gameplay and you like whether it be 1v1 or multiplayer and you want to be part of the ever-growing Command Your Challenge family, just make sure you smash the subscribe button and notification bell down below. We do weekly videos. Don't forget as well to like, comment, share our videos, but most importantly, enjoy them. On behalf of all of our members here, I'm your host, BT. Feel free to check out all of the videos in the channel, join our game, it's now your turn. Cheers!